It was finally released yesterday, and some of you have seen it already on the tech conference, and today I'll gonna run you through some of the changes that we made in the past year. This is a very big release, probably the biggest change in Dynamicweb or upgrade of Dynamicweb. And I'm gonna walk you through all the things that we've worked with and talk about why we did it and how we did it, and show you, of course, what it's all about, and talk about the upgrades and so on. You all have the question panes in GoToWebinar, and you are welcome to write questions during the session. I'll try to remember to read them all and answer when it's there. And the first one is asking, who's talking? And I can say, this is Nikolai Petersen from Dynamicweb. So, and welcome all. There's a lot of attendees today, and we have more webinars next week, more on that later on. So, let's get started and talk about first what is Dynamicweb 9 and why did we do it. First of all, it's I have a question about seeing the screen. Can everyone see what's going on? Or is it only one? Okay, other people can see what's going on. Perfect. So, user experience and the user interface is one of the most biggest changes that we did on Dynamicweb 9, and of course one of the things that you can see with your just your eyes, because it takes out a lot of things. So the user interface has been totally upgraded to this new user experience, where we've optimized a lot of things, make things faster and more simple, and introduced more modern ways of working with various pieces of content, but also so it looks more modern. Another thing that we spend a lot of time on and a lot of energy is upgrading all of the documentation of Dynamicweb. I'm going to show you the new documentation portal, which is really cool compared to what we have today. So implementing and using the system has been simplified quite a bit for new users, because the documentation is much better. And also we worked a lot with performance on the administration part especially. So some of the things that could have been faster in the old version of Dynamicweb is much more performant in Dynamicweb 9. We've rewritten a lot of the user interface, especially the trees and the overall structure of the administration, and you would see it performs much better than Dynamicweb 8. On the technology side, which is also a big part of this release is not all of it is visible, but we spend a lot of time getting ready for some of the technology changes that has happened, and also some of the interesting things that we're going to see happen in the near future happening from Microsoft. So we've adapted to what's happening on the .NET platform. We've changed the way that we distribute Dynamicweb. So going from this big application that you receive in a zip file, we now introduce a package system which is very flexible and gives us a lot of benefits that we don't have today. More on that later on. And also deployment should be much easier and faster using the packages, and we also have an deployment tool coming up in the fall for Dynamicweb 9, which will make deployments much easier. So let's start with the user experience and the user interface itself. Why a new user interface? Of course, the old one has done its job. It was made in 2009, which is a long time ago, and it looks like Office, and it did a really good job. A lot of things have happened with browsers and the general trends, so we've adapted to a much more modern interface and utilize some of the new features that we have from browsers that can make things a lot easier. And we also spent some time on simplifying some of the tasks that the user are working on. So things like working with files, or just navigating some of the windows we have. We've removed a lot of secondary tasks away from the user, so they don't have that as many buttons to click on, and things have been made more simple. And now we've also introduced touch-based support for the administration, so you can now right-click using fingers and stuff like that. In general, we have a much better support for devices, especially tablets, than we have on Dynamicweb 8. And all of this is working much faster than the current version of Dynamicweb. And yeah, basically we are utilizing some of the new cool stuff that has happened in browsers since 2009, which is quite a bit. So using HTML5 and some of the new CSS tricks also makes things a lot faster and so on. So we have the comparison of the two right here, the Dynamicweb 8 in the back and Dynamicweb 9 in the front, and you can see there's a lot of resemblance, but also a lot of differences. And if you take a look at first on the left side, we've gone away from the accordion and moved into a left-based accordion that is more easy to use the width of the modern screens, which is all of them are wide screens, and that's one of the things that we're utilizing. And also you can see we have less buttons in the right content pane than we do today. And yeah, you can also see one of the things, the way we work with images. Instead of just having a selector, you can now see what happens, and you can upload directly and so on. We'll go more into detail and demo about that. So another thing that we did with the left part here with the accordion, now you have content files, users, and e-commerce and all of that. In Dynamicweb 8, when you switch between the two, they load the entire page and you lose your work. With Dynamicweb 9, you basically have all these windows open all at the same time, so you can switch between content and e-commerce without losing any work. So when you're working on a paragraph and writing text, you can just click e-commerce and work with that, and then you are able to switch back to content without losing any of your work. So I'm going to show you when we get to the demo of this one. Also, the way we work with the content has been optimized a bit, so we've taken away some of the buttons, as I told you already. The way we work with images, you can now see what images you have. You can upload directly and edit directly from where you're using the stuff. And we also improved the way that you can minimize the space that we take up with trees and so on, so you have the maximum amount of workspace to work with. And we also moved a lot of space and unused space from the different screens, so you can have more on each of them. The user interface here has been optimized for 1280 in the width, so it's a bit bigger than we have in Dynamicweb 8, which is 1024. So we're using again that people has wider screens and bigger displays to give a better user experience. File Manager have received a big overhaul, especially how you upload and work with files. So you can now click directly and get an upload, and not this weird upload manager that we have in Dynamicweb 8. You can also use drag and drop, and you have way more ways of uploading and managing files directly from where you're using files, but also when you are in the File Manager itself. The My Page is all new. In the first version of Dynamicweb 9, this is a static one. You have news and shortcuts and all the latest works and e-commerce orders and some statistics that you load onto the front page. All of this is not currently configurable, but it will be configurable during the fall, so you can personalize the experience on depending on who you are and what you want to see on this page. And we also worked a lot with the performance of this, so all of it is loaded asynchronously, so we don't have the blocking issue that we have with Dynamicweb 8. And a couple of examples on places in Dynamicweb where we also changed how editors work with the data. This is editing of a product. You have the overall new user interface look and feel with the new ribbon bar and so on, but we also took a look at all the fields that we had and reorganized them in a different way, so they're more editor optimized. So you can see the images and you can write the text on the front page, and we've moved things like the product name and product number still in the center of stuff, but all the less used fields have gone further down in the screen. and this should be make the user interface much easier to use and work with for the editors. So this is one example of it. Another example is when you're looking at order details, also optimized, so it's much easier to see what is going on the screen, where does the different amounts come from, and basically just a more modern way of working with the content. This is just a couple of examples of how we've improved how screens looks like and how they work throughout the system. I told you about this, optimized for tablets. A lot of, not all of the user interface, but most of the user interface has been optimized so it is responsive and of course works on tablets and so on, and we've made sure that you can right click in the trees with your fingers and stuff like that, so you can now actually operate the administration from smaller touch-based devices. I wouldn't say we are fully supported on these, but we go quite a long way with the support. So, and we'll of course continue to work on that. But let's go take a look at some of the things that we added instead of just talking. So I'll switch to the administration of Dynamicweb, and basically everything in here is new on the left side in the tree. So all of this has been rewritten from Dynamicweb 8 and is now utilizing all the new stuff that we have in the browsers in terms of JavaScript and Ajax and all that, meaning that things works much faster than we do on Dynamicweb 9. So all these trees in File Manager, User, and Content Tree, and so on, has been rewritten to this new tree structure and makes things work much faster than we did before. And you can also see I can switch between these two different things, or all of them actually, without losing any of my work. So I can go into a paragraph and I can start typing another text in here. And I can switch to files. I can do whatever I want to do in the file manager and go back, and I'm still in the window. So already a very nice thing. We all in the development department and in the Q&A, we already love this feature quite a bit. So apart from that, you can see here we have things like a paragraph list. If you take a look at how fast we switch between those two, you can see you have much better performance on how fast it loads. And also if you take a look at the ribbon bar, we have a lot less features to take into account for regular editors. So we've moved only the most important things into this page, and other things like the draft and so on has been moved to other tabs, and some of it has been removed because it's not used. And what is available on the screen is depending on the screen size. So if I make it smaller, you get less information on this one. And you can work with collapsing different parts of the screen, so you can optimize your workspace in the screen also with throughout the user interface. Let's have a look at the paragraph. It looks like itself. Not much has changed. Again, new controls and cleanup, new date selectors and stuff like that. A lot of things has been optimized for user experience. So now a thing like the images, where you before had this control where you could just use the select box, now we can actually get a visual representation of what we're doing. So I can change and see the image. I can upload a new image directly from this one. I already had this file, so I can override it and get it in here. So much more visual and much more intuitive to work with compared to Dynamicweb 8. And additional information can be found in these fold-out sections of the various screens. So we're using this trick a lot, so you can put it in. So another thing that is, we have the save and close bar in the bottom in here. So this is where I go and save and close. So it sticks to the bottom. So, and also now working in this paragraph, I can switch to files and do some other stuff. And again, working with the uploads and so on has been changed. This is the new thumbnail view. You can also switch to details view and have a more simple way of looking at things. And a big wish. The upload has been changed, so now you have upload a lot of places, and it's simplified a lot. So upload now gives you your files on your computer right away. I can also right-click and do the same thing, upload into the folder, so much more intuitive. And I can, of course, also use simple tricks like I have this drag and drop area down here, so I can take my images and drag it into and get them uploaded directly into the file manager. And as you can see here, we get a marker saying these are the new files. And apart from that, the file manager with the edit files and so on is the tools that you know, just improved and optimized. User management, pretty much the same thing as you know from Dynamicweb 8. Let's take a quick look at e-commerce. We made some changes in here. So this is the new product editing, as I just showed you in the PowerPoint. So now a focus on the most important parts, the description, prices, stock levels, and name and product number and stuff like that. Images now moved into this screen as well, so you can actually get a much better understanding of what you're editing. And then we moved some of the secondary information down here. So we also simplified the number of tabs in the ribbon bar and moved them into this screen instead. So instead of tabbing to these different sections, you can now find them directly in the product editing area in here. And of course, things like this is configurable, so you can change what fields are available in the editors and so on, also as you can on Dynamicweb 8. And I have a question. Yeah, it's about when you can go live. We have that later on. He's basically asking if you have a new project in October and go live in January, we should use the new version. And yes, of course you should. This is the final version. It's not a beta or anything. This has been thoroughly tested. But we get back to that later on in the presentation. So another thing that we can take a look at in e-commerce is orders was one of the other things that we changed a bit. So you get a bit on overview, and you can also see we have adapting to the screen size where we render the things. Much easier to understand the order, and you have the details and so on. And I get a question, can I have two e-commerce tabs opened at the same time? And currently you cannot. In Dynamicweb 8 you can right click here, but we have the wish already, and it's in our backlog, so you somehow can have more than one e-commerce window open inside the administration at the same time. So another input we did get from the partner network was also moving some of the things that we had in Management Center before, like discount handling and loyalty points and vouchers and gift cards and all the stuff that you would use as an e-commerce owner is now moved into the e-commerce tree. So editors don't have to go into the Management Center, now called Settings. So I can work with the discounts and so on and loyalty points and vouchers and whatever all other modules I've installed from this interface instead of going into the Settings interface. And I have a question if we still use data integration with CSV file and e-commerce provider, and yes, all of that hasn't changed at all. So import and export is working the exact same way, and the integration framework is also the same as in Dynamicweb 8. And I get a question, is it possible to rename files without having to relink them? And no, it's not. No changes regarding that. If I rename this file, I would have to go and update the references. So that was a introduction to the user interface. All of these things are new, and you can see if you have more than a number of items in the trees, you also get this search bar, so you can file your templates folder or whatever. In the content tree, if you have a lot of languages, you can also search. Now I only have 2, so I don't see the search box and so on. A lot of things is just clicking around, see what happens. Recycle bin, search, and so on has been reworked, so a lot of new things to take into consideration. Drag and drop navigation items is a question. Do we support that so you can drag them around? No, we do not. We considered it, but basically it's it's nice to demonstrate, but people don't use it in real life. And actually, we had it in e-commerce for 10 trillion years. I can take this one and drag it around. No one uses it, and when they do, it's by accident. So it's in my point of view, it's bad user behavior. So, but as you can see, I can actually do that in Dynamicweb 8 already, and no one knows and no one uses it, and it makes no sense. So that's basically my point of view on that one. Let's go on in the presentation. Let's take a look at the documentation side of all of Dynamicweb 9. More than a year ago, we started a journey where we took a look at all the documentation and made a new structure and started reauthoring everything from the ground up. So, and with Dynamicweb 9, we introduced first of all the new manual and documentation side that takes over from the old manual, the old template tag reference and the API reference and the developer documentation. All of this has been rewritten and moved into this new documentation portal that is much more comprehensive and much better structured than you've seen before. And this is aiming at the end user, the editor, but also the implementer and the developer. And we, instead of having 3 different documentation portals, we've put a lot of it into the same way of documenting the things. I'm going to show you a little later. So, but we're using this article-based approach and adding more videos into it, and these articles cover everything from the concept and more advanced stuff and into how to implement it and extend it and integrate and so on. So as you browse these articles, the further down you get, it's more advanced, so you just stop where you need. But you have everything in the same point. I'm going to show you in just a minute. The entire template tag reference has been rewritten and restructured. So, and everything in the tag documentation is now both in HTML and in Razor. So, and I have a question, can we see the new documentation online now? Yes, you can. I'm going to show you in just 1 second, and you can also get the URL, so you can just click in and see what's going on in there. The API documentation is fully updated and is being rebuilt every time we have a new bug fix for Dynamicweb, so it's now part of the build procedure and therefore always up to date, and also part of the documentation portal now. So, but let's have a look. I have it right here, and the URL is called doc.at-cms.com. I will just put it into your question pane, so you can now see the link and you can just click in. And it has different sections. We have a getting started, documentation, which is the manual and so on. We have the template tag reference, API, and the forum, which will go online tomorrow on this portal and move from the old developer portal. And we have a release and download section. And of course you can search and so on and download the latest and see activity on the forums, and you can see list of known bugs in DV8 and DV9 that is published onto this website as well. So this new website will take over from the old manual template tag and developer references, and we're going to be moved into this one. And this section also has the documentation for Dynamicweb 8 as well, so it's also going to take over that one. So let's take a look at some of these articles. I'm now in the Dynamicweb 9 section, and you can see I have content, e-commerce, marketing, users, platform, and integration. And in those sections, of course, it tells itself what we cover. And this is one of the articles that's covering the forms of editors, and you can see we have some basic concepts of creating forms, adding fields. This is user related. All of this is in one page. And as I go down, it gets more advanced working with form data, and now I get to the implementing section. And in here you can see some more technical information about how to implement it and working with templates. It's not the template tag documentation, which is something I can also link into, but I get some examples and some more technical information on how I can work with the forms for editors and so on. And then there's a developing section, which is not on all the articles yet, but here you will get specific information and links into the API reference on how to develop on the forms module. And also as a new thing, you can now see the database structure for this specific feature. So these are the tables that are available for the forms module, what they do, and you can see the fields and the structure in here. So you get a better understanding on where data is. And if integration is the last part, now this one doesn't have anything, but if you are in e-commerce working with that, you have information about getting data in and out of the system for this specific feature. And I have a question why the end user manual is not separate from developer info. And we had a lot of talks about that, and basically it is. I just have to look at this first section. And the reason it's still in here is in this one is because we had a big problem about what is developer information and what is editor information. And there's a lot of having those two things in two different places caused us a lot of issues. So that's why we chose to do it in this way. Let's have a look at the template tag reference for auto forms for editors, the email. I have a section in all template tags, which is available tags in this template, and I also have the available loops, and I can click in and take a look at these, and have all of it is documented on one page. So. And as you can see, I have razor examples of all of it, and can also switch to HTML mode, and will of course remember which is your preferences in here. You can copy and paste the examples and so on. Also, we have a lot of examples now included directly in the solution. We both have razor and regular HTML examples in here. So much easier to find anything you look for, and you can see the structure is much more easy to navigate than we have on the current template tag reference. The API documentation, you can find all of it up here. You have links you can link to. This is the database class. You get information about which package it's included in, and you have everything documented, and also with examples. If we go into some of the these things, we have examples on how to use it. Let's find the right one. There we have the examples of how to use the different things that's built into the API documentation. And I have a question. There's no login needed. No, the developer portal or this documentation portal is open. But if you log in, you get access to using the forums, and there's also a a download section which is locked. So you need to log in before you can download things from this portal. And it's the same login as you use on the developer portal. You just log in on this screen. Okay, let's take a brief look on technology in Dynamicweb 9. I'm not going to dwell too much into this because there's a lot of commercial guys on this talk as well. We have some more technical information coming up in webinars in the time to come. So basically, one of the biggest things that we're looking into is that Microsoft is in the process of changing the .NET stack from ASP.NET and the .NET framework and into something called .NET Core. And this is a major change of the .NET platform, the first one since it was invented. And this also means that we have a lot of changes in how we can utilize the .NET framework. And we're basically with Dynamicweb 9 preparing most of our stack to be compatible with .NET Core. So during the next couple of years, you will see a switch of us being able to move on to .NET Core, which is the future on .NET and the platform that we are in. So currently we are on .NET Framework 4.6.2 and getting ready to switch to Core when we get ready and that stack also get ready. And I'm not going to go into speak about what that is. So yeah, this is what I said, technical information, which I'm not going to go more into. Another thing that we did on the technology side is we optimized the API quite a bit. So we've refactored all of our application into a lot of packages and now have a more clear stack in the things. And we've updated all the underlying dependencies and introduced new core APIs for logging and configuration and mailing and so on. All of these APIs are now much more streamlined and optimized in performance and can be switched out and stuff like that. The way we take data in and out of the system, for example, for the content management part, has been moved into a services model, giving us some new possibilities of supporting larger environments and better performance and stuff like that. A lot of interesting things are in here. And that also leads me to packages, which is a new thing, a new way we distribute Dynamicweb. And packages is a way of distributing software that gives us a number of benefits. Dynamicweb, instead of being one big application that you download, is now one big set of NuGet packages that is published on MyGet. And that means that it's much easier for us to distribute new software. For you as developers, you have integration to MyGet and can download and upgrade different parts of the Dynamicweb without downloading a big zip file. And I got a question from Richard saying, will packages allow developers to make an add-on module so other developers could utilize to add to their own implementation? And yes, I have a slide just in a minute that we're going to address that one. So, but packages also gives us another benefit because we don't have this big application. So now we have, for example, if there's a change in a checkout handler, like PayPal, for example, we can now release a new version of PayPal with that change, and everyone using Dynamicweb 9, let it be Dynamicweb 9.0, 9.1 or 9.2, can update the PayPal package and only that package and get the new version of something without updating the rest of the Dynamicweb solution. And that takes out a lot of time and a lot of risk of adding hotfixes and new features to your solution. And this is one of the key performance benefits out of going into packages. And you have a package manager inside Dynamicweb that will give you the list of packages and their updates, and you can just update with a single click and only get the updates that you need instead of getting one big one big application to update all of it and risking and the need for tests and so on. And of course, developers can also use this. They can create things and put it into packages, and we can also put other things than just application into these packages. We can add item types or templates or entire themes into these packages, and when we get to it, we can also add data into these packages, so you can make a package containing templates, item types, and some data, and ready to move into to a solution, and you can distribute it using partner fees that will also be available. And yeah, and I have a question from Thor saying, do we have mobile application ready API? I don't know. I don't know what that is, so I don't know. Maybe we can talk about that later on. Yeah, as I said, Dynamicweb packages are based on NuGet package format that is supported by Visual Studio and a lot of other development tools, and it's hosted on MyGet on a Dynamicweb specific feed, and that's there. As I said, there's a lot of benefits out of this one, and this also means that what we know as modules today is going towards the concept of apps. So instead of having all the modules in your solution, you can basically uninstall the Forms module, or if we release a new module, you can just install it using one of these packages instead of getting a new application with all of this. So the benefits, much easier to distribute, and it integrates directly into the development environment. You can use the package manager in Visual Studio or the package manager console to update custom solutions as well. And Kevin has a question if the API is for the database is rewritten for better SQL injection prevention without the ban feature on specific words in the request. And yes, we did make some changes, and so that specific issue is solved on Dynamicweb 9, and the issue is if you have some SQL related text in your posts, or especially your request in the front end, you would be caught by our SQL injection engine, and that could still happen, but it's there are less false positives on Dynamicweb 9. We made some changes on this one. But you would still probably encounter the problem, but it shouldn't be as bad as you know it today. But you should never have anything in the query string saying select stjerne from user's database, because it sucks and will be caught by the SQL injection engine. So this is the package manager in Dynamicweb, and you can see all the packages that is currently on our feed, and you would see all of these are Dynamicweb 9.0.0, and all the packages that it is using is 1.0.0, and if we make a bug fix to any of these, they will be bumped, and you can download and update that specific thing inside from the administration in Dynamicweb. Much easier than it is today, and you don't need to wait for something. You can actually call in a bug. I can fix it right away, and I can commit it to our source control, and I can publish it into this feed, and you can have it in 10 minutes. So it's a much faster release cycle, and it's much more fragmented and less risky. So we're looking forward to get this up and running. It would be much easier for you and give us a better possibility to support you when you find stuff in our system that should be updated, changed, or fixed. So the future of these packages, of course, packages is for everything. So you should be able to build a package from our administration saying, I want these item types and all the data and the templates and these images, and move them into a package that you can take from this solution and move it into another solution. And that's one thing. Another thing that we also want to support is partner packages. So if you take a look at this one, we have different package feeds that we have on our left side, and we could also include partner packages in two different ways. You could have your own private feeds for your solutions, so you can distribute the things that you need on your solution using packages. But you could also use add packages into a common feed that you can share among partners, so you can have code and templates and so on that you can give to other partners and take other partners' code and put into your solution. And these themes and templates is another thing that we can move in, so designs and layouts and so on can be moved into a package. It doesn't have to be code as such. And I have a question, how do we downgrade a package? You basically just go into the package and choose another one in here, which is older. I think you can do that. Haven't checked. We only have one version right now, Per, so that's why I'm not totally clear about it. But you basically get the entire history of packages and can just choose one of them. Demonstration of packages. Well, not much to show. Can't switch. There we go. Need to find the right one. Settings. There we go. So I have all the packages distributed by us, and you would be able to see if what is installed. This is the feed of everything. They don't necessarily install. If I had any updates, they will be in here, and I would be able to go in and update one of them. And if we take a look at a package like this one, you can see the things that those of you who is working in a development environment would see the tags, and would see the dependencies on other packages. Install it. This one is already installed. I would be able to uninstall it and update it. And yeah, you can do that from in here. So very nice. Packages is published on MyGet. You'll get some URLs for this. We have a public feed with everything that is released, and we also have a less public feed with all the pre-releases of different stuff. And you basically get a package of each of various little tiny bit of Dynamicweb, and can download them from in here or integrate to this feed using Visual Studio. You have a question, get website content. Yeah, this is the future, and this is because I want the Dynamicweb packages to be built in one administration, so you can say, I want to move this page and this item type and these images, move them into a package on one solution, and move them into another solution and unpack them in there, install the package, and you get the data and the templates and the item types into that solution. So it's basically a way of moving data from one solution to another one, which is also going to be combined with a deployment tool for doing some of the stuff automatically directly. So, what's the price of packages? There's a question. I don't know yet, and I don't figure you mean the price in currencies, because it's free in part of the application itself, but the downside of packages is, I don't know yet. You could get into situations where you have different versions of packages where they could be incompatible, but we should take care of that, because the packages have dependencies on specific versions and so on. But that's the only thing I can see that you would possibly run into, that we have an error in those dependencies, so that you download a package and it will not work because the dependency is not right. But that's the only downside I can see right now. More will probably maybe show up later on, but basically this is just a much more modern way of distributing software. So, going from Dynamicweb 8 to Dynamicweb 9, or getting started on Dynamicweb 9, this is the final release, so you can go online. We did a lot of upgrade tests. Before you update existing solutions, you should upgrade to Dynamicweb 8.9.1.12, and in that one you have this upgrade advisor that will give you a link of issues, potential issues you could have if you upgrade. And there's a list of deprecated modules. And if you use any of those, you need to replace them by newer modules. It could be the old forms module, which is replaced by forms for editors and so on. And there are some other things that we check for in this one. So if you have only greens and maybe a couple of warnings in this list, you can go and upgrade from Dynamicweb 8 to Dynamicweb 9 using the support. Very simple, and things should work. There are a couple of things you should be aware of. If you have Razor templates that utilizes our API, you would get some possible exceptions in your Razor templates that needs to be fixed pretty easy. We also have something called a template compatibility pack that will make sure that most of your calls in your Razor templates will be redirected to the new location in Dynamicweb 9. So, and if you have custom modules, of course you need to address that, and you need to get hold of the solution and upgrade all the references and rebuild the solution to run it on Dynamicweb 9. And I have a question, if it's possible to upgrade for DV9 release candidate to final without issues. It should be, so I don't see why you should not do it. And I have a question about the wrap templates, if they are compatible with Dynamicweb 9. The wrap templates are not compatible with Dynamicweb 9, but there's a wrap version for Dynamicweb 9 also being released pretty soon. And most of it will work with the template compatibility pack. So how do you get started? You just, when you order a new solution or build a new one, you can just ask support to start on Dynamicweb 9. You can also, if you're a developer, you can just download it on the doc site that we just saw. It's available for download already, and there's also an installation guide. And if you upgrade, what I just told you, upgrade to 8.8.1.12, check the advisor and ask the service desk to copy your solution and move it to Dynamicweb 9. They will do that for you as you're used to. You cannot use the normal update manager in Dynamicweb 8 to go to Dynamicweb 9. And also be sure to read the server requirements on the developer or the new doc portal, because there are some changes to requirements. So yeah, development. If you need to develop anything, it's pretty much the same way. On the doc portal, there's also a package for Visual Studio called a VSIX package, which gives you all the code templates for Visual Studio. So as you know them from Dynamicweb 8, they're just for Dynamicweb 9 instead. So they're available, so you can use those already. And then of course we have the support of Dynamicweb 9. Of course, this is a brand new release. We did a lot of testing and upgrade tests and so on, but of course you will find stuff that is not working as intended. And what we promise you is even faster bug fixes than we do today. You can also get extended developer support, meaning that you will get help from the development department directly to fix some of the issue you encounter if you upgrade for custom solutions and so on. And we will also help with template updates and so on, guide you in the right direction and fix things as we speak on the phone to get you up and running if you run into issues. And for the first 10 of you that is coming with a solution, and you cannot come with 10 solutions, but we'll give this extensive upgrade test, meaning that we'll take your solution and do the upgrade process and do a comprehensive test of all the things that you need to do. And we can also take a look at templates. We cannot do anything on custom code. We'll do this for the first 10 solutions coming in as a thank you for going online on this. And signing up for an upgrade test is a question. You just send me an email or write on the forums, and I'll be happy to get you up and running on this one. Of course, we also have Dynamicweb 8. We have, I don't know, thousands of solutions running on Dynamicweb 8, and it's not dead. We continue to create fixes, and we also have feature releases. We have an 8.9 coming out in a month, and so you would see releases still in the next year or two, and we'll continue to release hot fixes and service releases as you know it. But of course, most of the new features will be on the Dynamicweb 9 platform. And the release cycles, Dynamicweb 9 was yesterday, 8.9 coming out in a month. Then we have Dynamicweb 9.1, which is service release on top of the release that we made yesterday, and also adding some new features, and especially around packages and deployment and so on. And then we have service release of 8.9 and a 9.2 in January. And I get a question about the price of upgrading to Dynamicweb 9. If you have a license that is on a software as a service, or if you have a license with upgrade SA, or they call software assurance on it, you can just upgrade to this one. You need to talk to your partner account manager. He knows all the details about this. And I have a question if we can put partner information on my page like before. I don't think we have a widget for that right now. We still have the fields in the administration. So yes, if you cannot do it today, you can in a few days anyways. And blogging editor access to items in Management Center, is it possible now? I can't remember. We did make some changes on permissions and so on. So upgrading, we also have a couple of services available for you as partners that we can do on the upgrades that you're doing. You can always ask for get a solution from Dynamicweb 8.1, upgrade to Dynamicweb 9. You just create a regular case as you do today, no problems. But apart from that, you can choose an add-on called normal upgrade, where we copy the website and do a check on the templates, and also do something called a bitmap test, which is testing if the old and the new website is the same as you know it before and after the upgrade. So we can find any things that is not compatible. And then there's an upgrade plus a mini test where we also do visual front-end clicking through. It's a manual job where we spend some hours clicking through the entire website and finding things that is not working. And we can also do a full upgrade where we fix templates and items and stuff like that. And we can also go in and do some minor things on custom code maybe. So these are some upgrades, the possibilities that is available. And we have some Dynamicweb 9 events. September is primarily webinars, and in October we are coming with a lot of working in Dynamicweb 9 webinars for end users, but also implementing and developing on Dynamicweb 9 for partners and developers and so on. And during November we will also get some workshops up and running where we go with partners and their customers. So just invite your customers and we'll present Dynamicweb 9 and give you all take care of all the practical stuff. You can just talk to your partner account manager about this one if you are interested in hosting one of these seminars, and we'll be right on it. So that's it. End of today's show. That was Dynamicweb 9 in 45 minutes. It's ready and it's out there. So please just go ahead and start using the Dynamicweb software, and we'll be there to support it. I hope you like it, everything you've seen, and thank you for attending this webinar. So now you can just ask questions if you have any. And I have a question about languages in the backend, and it still supports the languages that you know. So if I log off, you have change language, and you can choose whatever you want to do in languages. And we get, yeah, congratulations. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Bruno.